Chapter 57 to 61. Let's go back. Raditz grabbed Piccolo's shoulder and hinted for him to teleport. If Cell did not have Piccolo's absurd regeneration ability, he would have tried to kill Cell with his 10 seconds half-power Super Saiyan state. But considering how easily Cell can regenerate, he was sure to fail in killing Cell. Rather than make Cell even stronger by giving him another Zenkai, Raditz decided to enter the hyperbolic time chamber and train his hardest. If only I could use my transformation normally. Even though it was Raditz's intention to let the Z-Team fight Cell in order to sharpen everyone, he still felt bitter when he saw Cell's strength. If he could stay in full-powered Super Saiyan, he could easily destroy Cell. But what could a single second even do? Of course, this was also one of the reasons Raditz needed to use Cell to sharpen his blade and become even stronger in order to handle even more danger in the future. How else could they fight Buu? The duo ignored Vegeta and teleported back home. Well, since Cell had given them 10 days, he would surely spare Vegeta anyway. But the two of them didn't hold any good feelings to bring Vegeta back with them. Especially Piccolo, who had almost died at Vegeta's hands. After a short talk with Goku and Gohan to update them about Cell, Raditz had Piccolo pick up Dend to be their new Kami. He made sure that Piccolo would only pick Dend and not Cargo, who was also a Dragon Clan Namekian. Raditz was only interested in Dend because of his healing ability. After recovering a bit, Raditz decided to have Gohan as his training partner in the hyperbolic time chamber. Raditz only had 1 year left to train, the same for Goku. But Gohan had never been to the hyperbolic time chamber and had 2 years left to train, so Gohan could still choose to continue training with Goku after they finished their training. Raditz had Goku tell the dojo members and the others in Z-Team about Cell tournament in 10 days. The schedule would get messy and they might not have any instructors for those 10 days. After telling Gohan to meet him at the lookout, Raditz flew over to Capsule Corp and swept all the rejuvenation liquid before flying to the lookout. Once Gohan arrived, Raditz pulled Gohan to the hyperbolic time chamber before he even could react. Gohan had mastered the Super Saiyan state, could stay indefinitely in that state as he would lose any energy or stamina as long as he doesn't fight. Though if he gets injured, his energy will start leaking. Raditz hoped Gohan could reach Super Saiyan 2 like in the original storyline. After all, he had messed up the timeline quite a lot. It wouldn't be weird if Gohan did not manage to reach Super Saiyan 2. But if that happens, he would have to carry the team. At least Gohan was 10 years old now and did not look as small as he did when he was just 4 years old. Raditz could be harsh on the current Gohan without feeling guilty as if he's bullying a little kid. Raditz showed his half-power Super Saiyan state to Gohan so he could more easily understand and learn the Super Saiyan 2 state. Their daily schedule was to fight till they crumble and get healed up in a rejuvenation tank, then do gravity training. The leftover time will be for rest and experimenting on the Super Saiyan transformation. Of course, the so-called daily schedule would often be changed into a 2 or 3 days schedule instead. Days passed, months passed. But the two stayed steadfast and did not turn lazy. The most prominent improvement of them both was their increased base battle power had increased enormously. Gohan managed to learn Super Saiyan 2, but because of his lack of rage, his transformation was less stable and he couldn't keep it for long. As long as he trains in it, he would eventually have full control over his new transformation. Raditz had also tried to reach Super Saiyan 2, but as he had expected, either due to his abnormal Super Saiyan state having already fused with his Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 states, or because of his abnormal Super Saiyan state being far from mastered, Raditz was unable to transform into the same Super Saiyan 2 state as Gohan. Because of how harsh their training schedule was, they had no choice but to stop training after 9 months. Even with the rejuvenation tanks to heal them up, their bodies could not keep up with the training and was close to failing. It is no wonder Goku did not continue his training and decided to just rest. Raditz sighed. If not for the rejuvenation tanks, Raditz and Gohan would not have been able to push their bodies over and over its limits so many times it was close to collapsing, and no healing could do away with this. They had no choice but to rest their bodies. The greatest achievement for Raditz was that his Super Saiyan time limit had been increased to 4 minutes, half power to 15 seconds and full power to 2 seconds. It's not like there is no way to bypass this and speed up mastering my Super Saiyan state. But Raditz sighed. The quickest and best way for him to quickly master the Super Saiyan state was to become an otherworld citizen. But considering that even King Kai had remarked about Raditz's sins, if he died, he was unlikely to be allowed to have his body restored and train in the other world. Maybe he would be directly sent to hell or not just be living without his body, just as a spirit. The dead would only use up half as much energy as when they were alive. That is to say, his Super Saiyan transformation time limit would be extended by a few fold. If his stamina was 100, and his half-power Super Saiyan state drains 15 stamina per second, while his recovery rate was 5 stamina per second, he would lose 10 stamina per second, that is to say he would last 10 seconds. But if he only uses half as much energy, then his half-power Super Saiyan state would only drain 5 stamina per second. If his recovery rate is still 5 stamina per second, he would only lose 5 stamina per second and last 4 times as long. That is to say 40 seconds. With Raditz's current Super Saiyan state's time limit being 4 minutes for normal state, 15 seconds for half-power Super Saiyan and 2 seconds for full-power Super Saiyan, his time limit would probably quadruple. He would be able to stay in his normal Super Saiyan state for 16 minutes. Half power for 1 minute. And full power for 8 seconds. Not only would he be able to train longer in his Super Saiyan state, with his recovery rate to stamina drain ratio being much higher, Raditz would also recover much faster and be able to train again much sooner. His training efficiency would be up to 10-folds better. Since he could not do any serious training anytime soon, Raditz decided to leave after he had spent 10 months inside the hyperbolic time chamber. Raditz habitually took out his battle power scanner and scanned himself and Gohan. His battle power was 22 million, and Gohan's was 17 million. When they left the hyperbolic time chamber, Raditz and Gohan met Dend. Gohan and Dend was really happy to meet each other after not having seen each other for a few years. They hugged each other and jumped around. Dend had already restored the Dragon Balls, and now they were able to make 2 wishes. He had even reset the cooldown. Piccolo was also waiting for them at the lookout. He updated them about Cell's latest actions. Cell had actually built an arena and announced to the world that if no one can defeat him in the Cell tournament in 10 days, he will destroy Earth. Earth's army was also preparing to head out and besiege Cell. Raditz had a wry smile. He knew that the military power on Earth was too weak to even scratch Cell. He quickly teleported over to the capital and found King Furry. King Furry refused to believe Earth's military power was unable to harm a single person. Raditz had no choice but to carry King Furry and fly to a remote mountain and level the whole mountain and its surroundings flat with a wave of his palm. Only then did the dumbfounded King Furry obediently recall the military. Because Gohan was in no condition to re-enter the hyperbolic time chamber, Goku went in with Piccolo. Next was Tien Shinhan. He was quite unlucky as he had no one on his level to partner up with. After thinking for a while, he picked Nappa. Although Nappa was training every day, he was nowhere close to Vegeta's level even without transforming into a Super Saiyan. But at least he was much stronger than Yamcha and Krillin. After Tien Shinhan, Vegeta and Trunks entered the hyperbolic time chamber again. Trunks had actually gone and picked up Vegeta from the battleground. Cell had completely disregarded Vegeta and left the scene already. Since neither Gohan nor Raditz could do any physical training, they either took some time to meditate or relax the remaining few days until the Cell tournament begins. Raditz had wanted to find number 18, but then he remembered that Cell would not be perfect without number 18, so obviously she was inside Cell already. Goku had trained hard for a year and relaxed the remaining few days with Raditz and Gohan. Soon, it was time for the Cell tournament to begin. All the dojo disciples were nervous. This was all Goku's fault. When they asked if they were confident in beating Cell, Goku said they weren't. But he never said the last part of the sentence. That everything will probably work out somehow. The Z-Team flew to the arena far from the cities. The dojo members flew on a few airplanes to watch the fight. They weren't the only spectators. Maybe because Raditz had warned and showed some of his strength when he leveled a whole mountain flat in front of King Furry's eyes. There were quite a few cameramen all around the arena filming the tournament live. Raditz was amused to see Satan actually be at the arena, but unlike in the original storyline, Satan and the other dojo members were cheering for the Z-Team. What was there to fear being so close to Cell? If the Z-Team loses, they won't be alive anyway. Raditz even brought 10 senzu beans to ensure he had enough transformation time. This is beyond my level. Tien Shinhan had a wry smile. Even though they hadn't started fighting, and Cell wasn't showing his full power, Tien Shinhan had already given up on participating in the tournament. There was no need to mention Krillin and Yamcha. They never mentioned joining the tournament and became spectators right off the bat. I'll go first. Piccolo cracked his neck and knuckles and walked up the arena. Cell played along with Piccolo and warmed up a bit. Then he increased his power by a notch. Piccolo got bruised and spat a mouthful of purple blood. With a serious look, he took off his turban and weighted cape. Masochist. Raditz muttered. Like always, Piccolo started fighting with his weights on. Only when he was getting thrashed did he remove the weights. Piccolo got serious this time, but even so, Cell was clearly toying with Piccolo and slowly whittling down Piccolo. 10 minutes later, Piccolo was in a bad shape, though no visible big injuries, and just covered in blood. Somehow, even though he managed to keep his limbs intact this time, he did break a few ribs. Piccolo withdrew from the competition. Next, Goku eagerly jumped up on the arena. Having seen Cell fight, Goku did not warm up, he immediately transformed into his full-power Super Saiyan state. Raditz had thought Goku would be stronger than Piccolo, but Goku's ki was actually a notch below Piccolo's. But it had still surpassed Vegeta's ki while he was transformed into an Ultra Super Saiyan. Cell was still leisurely playing around with Goku, just the same as he did while fighting Piccolo. After 10 minutes, Goku was covered in bruises and blood, surrendered the battle. Raditz could not figure out why he did not get all beaten up half dead in order to receive a Zenkai but decided to let it just be. Next was Gohan's turn. After having gleaned on the earlier two battles, Gohan had a good understanding of Cell's moves. Gohan did not play around like Piccolo and started off by becoming a Super Saiyan 2. Electricity sparked and danced around his golden aura. Incredible! To think I would meet a match. Cell was amazed by Gohan's ki, which had overwhelmed his. But soon, Cell's ki increased until they were matched. What a monster! Gohan is actually this strong. Krillin muttered in shock. Since Gohan's base battle power is 17 million, that means 1.7 billion? I feel Cell is a lot stronger than in the original storyline. Raditz raised his eyebrow in amazement. After thinking about it, Raditz shot Vegeta a look. It's probably due to Vegeta giving Cell a Zenkai. Raditz blamed Vegeta. Vegeta's body was shaking, he clenched his fists tight but did not utter a single word. He was equally shocked as the rest by Gohan's incredible ki. And even more shocked that Cell was so powerful. This was at least 50% stronger than Vegeta's ki when he was an Ultra Super Saiyan when he last fought Cell. Although his base battle power did rise somewhat after entering the hyperbolic time chamber again, it wasn't such a big improvement that he would be a B-Cell's match even with Ultra Super Saiyan. But of course, after getting pummeled by Raditz and Piccolo, he had already given up on Ultra Super Saiyan, since he couldn't even land a single punch on either of them. With only ascended Super Saiyan, his battle power was even lower than before, he already had no thoughts of fighting Cell. It was a really close fight, though Gohan's body was shorter, his leg and arm reach was much shorter than Cell's and had a disadvantage in the fight. He started using his tail to whip and pull Cell to disrupt his rhythm, but then Cell began to also attack with his tail. And his tail was even longer. Take this! Kamehameha! Cell took to the sky and aimed his Kamehameha at the ground. Gohan had no choice but to defend the Kamehameha. Or the earth would be destroyed by Cell's full-powered Kamehameha. Kamehameha! Gohan landed on the ground and fired his Kamehameha to counter Cell's. They were in a stalemate, but Gohan didn't wish for their Kamehameha to go off and destroy Earth, so he mustered up all his strength. Every single drop of energy was put into his Kamehameha. He finally managed to slowly push up their Kamehameha higher and higher up into the sky. In the end, Cell abandoned his Kamehameha and evaded the beam flying out of space and exploding. The energy contained in both of their Kamehamehas shook the earth. Gohan fainted immediately after the explosion. Raditz caught Gohan before he fell to the ground. Gohan is actually this strong. He's still just a kid. If I wait till he grows up, he will surpass me. I must kill him right now. Cell was clearly exhausted, but even though Gohan had fainted and had automatically surrendered, Cell wasn't planning on letting Gohan go. Although Cell had started off by making this tournament to show off his strength, he had believed he was the perfect being, the strongest fighter in the universe after achieving perfect form. But now he was felt threatened. Threatened by a little kid with incredible potentials, who knows if, in just a few years, he would have already surpassed him. Cell could never allow such an existence to be alive. Cell stared at the unconscious Gohan with naked hostility and walked to Gohan. Stop! Cell, what are you doing? Gohan has already lost the match. Piccolo and Goku blocked Cell. Lost the match? The game is already over. All of you will die. Cell had only played a game because he felt he was invincible. But now that his invincible status had been torn off by a kid, he took off his veiled guise. There was no more magnanimity nor generosity left, only hostility. Hold Gohan for me. Raditz handed Gohan to Goku and stepped forward. He put a senzu bean in his mouth but did not chew on it. Raditz stretched his neck and loosened his shoulders while taking step for step forward. What? You want to fight me? Cell sneered. Even though his ki was drained, he did not believe there was another as strong as Gohan. And Raditz would not be so kind as to feed Cell a Senzu bean. Boom! Raditz transformed into his half-power Super Saiyan transformation. Raditz's base battle power was already higher than Gohan's. His battle power had now reached 2.2 billion. Impossible. Cell took a step back in fear. The incredible level of ki shocked Cell to the core. Raditz didn't give Cell any time to recover from his shock. Raditz kicked up Cell to the sky and also appeared in the sky. He clasped his hands and hammered down Cell to the ground with a double axe handle. Boom! Cell crashed heavily to the ground. The whole arena made of stone slabs cracked apart and sank down deep. An over 10-meter wide crater appeared on the former arena's spot. Cell coughed out purple blood. Before he had managed to get out of the crater, he was pulled out by Raditz's golden furred tail wrapped around his neck. Cough! Damn you! Raditz! Cell cursed and tried to pry away the tail. Bam! 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 With the tail holding him in place, Raditz continued pummeling Cell. He hit his face, nose, chest and stomach. Cell continued to spit out more and more purple blood and saliva. His ki was dropping. Raditz charged a Kamehameha and was just about to shoot it at Cell before he withdrew it. Damn it! Raditz cursed. Although Cell could regenerate his body, number 18 did not really have Piccolo's cells. Raditz was unsure whether number 18 would still be alive if he blasted apart Cell's body and then let him regenerate his body again. Bam! 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 Raditz concentrated his punches on Cell's gut. Cell curled up like a shrimp, but with Raditz's tail wrapped around Cell's neck, there was no way for him to escape Raditz's brutal punishing. Raditz decided to try to punch Cell's guts until he vomits out number 18. Raditz had already chewed up the Senzu bean in his mouth and also placed another one in his mouth. And just like he thought, after punching and punching Cell's guts, he finally vomited out number 18, who was covered in Cell's saliva. Cell himself had also reverted back to his semi-perfect form. Raditz threw away Cell with a wave of his tail and carried number 18 over to Piccolo. Piccolo, I'll entrust her to you. Don't lose her. Raditz said. He did not dare to hand her over to Krillin. Who knew what might happen if number 18 woke up seeing Krillin's face? At least Piccolo's face was better. He's not in his perfect form anymore. Trunks cheered. The dojo members cheered. Satan's voice was especially loud and he looked so excited from his wide smiling face. Even the news reporters and cameramen were cheering and quickly reporting the fight. Grr. I'll never forgive you. Cell cursed. His body rapidly expanded like a balloon. Ahahaha. This is the end for you all. In just 1 minute, I will self-destruct. I will die, but I'll take you all and Earth with me. Ahahaha. Cell laughed madly. His haughty self-confidence and arrogance stemmed from his perfect form. After losing it, he turned crazy. Oh no! We must kill him before he explodes. Goku yelled. Fool! If you hit me, I'll instantly explode. All it will do is make me explode faster. Cell said. Oh no! What do we do? The dojo members were in panic, hugged each other's. The camera crew were also reporting the end of Earth in panic. Earth's population were all watching TV live broadcast, cried in panic. Piccolo, hold my stuff. Raditz smiled and handed over his capsules and Senzu beans over to Piccolo. Raditz had already had the thought of living in the other world for a short time, but with his sins inherited from the old Raditz, he had no way to enter the other world freely. But now, Cell had just granted him that entrance ticket. By sacrificing himself to save the whole Earth, the merit would be enough for him to be granted the right to train in his afterlife. Why you? Piccolo immediately understood Raditz's decision. After all, only Piccolo, Goku and Raditz had learned instant transmission. In order to save Earth. Be big brother. Goku had also understood Raditz's actions. See y'all. Raditz waved his hand and touched Cell. The two of them disappeared from Earth. Raditz did not mention anything about wishing him back to life or not. Since the Z-Team was sure to have the thought once he dies. And if he doesn't have his body reconstructed, he would not have any way to contact the Z-Team on Earth. So he would only tell the Z-Team not to revive him if he has his body reconstructed with King Kai's help. Otherwise, he would love to have the Z-Team revive him. Though it was just a precaution since the amount of merit from saving Earth was more than enough to negate all his sins and put him in plus. Sorry King Kai. Raditz appeared on King Kai's tiny planet with the gigantic balloon cell. R.A. Raditz? King Kai had been watching their battle on Earth with tension. Even before he managed to spit out the words, he already had the thought, oh shit. Kaboom! King Kai's planet exploded into pieces. Neither Raditz, King Kai, Bubbles or Gregory were saved from the explosion. Raditz only saw jet black darkness. He couldn't feel or sense anything, neither could he hear anything, all his senses were gone. He couldn't even feel the flow of time. He had no idea just how long he had been in this state. Suddenly light came back, he could feel, sense, smell and hear again. Raditz. You bastard. I am a King Kai. One of the most important beings of the universe. Why did you have to bring Cell to my little planet? I only had that little planet left, and now it's all gone. I can't believe you killed me for one insignificant blue planet. King Kai complained. Raditz could see a yellow halo above King Kai's head. Turning his head, he was Bubbles and Gregory also have a halo above their heads. What are you smiling for? Raditz. King Kai got ticked from seeing Raditz smile. Raditz was smiling because it worked just as he wanted. King Kai, how long was I dead? Raditz interrupted King Kai. Well, maybe 20 seconds? King Kai said. Cell is still alive, can you sense his position? Raditz asked. He was already trying his best to sense Cell's ki. But after exploding himself, Cell's ki was extremely faint, even Cell did not think he would survive after the explosion. Are you sure? The blast was so big it destroyed my planet. HM. It's there. There is some weird lump there. King Kai's antennae twitched and pointed to a direction. Raditz quickly approached, but he could already see with his naked eye a small lump quickly regenerating its parts. Once he arrived, half of Cell's body was already regenerated. A few seconds later, Cell had fully regenerated his body, and he was back in his perfect form. Ahahaha. Cell laughed. He was happy that he was still alive, and even happier that he had returned to his perfect form. This time without number 18, a true perfect form. He was stronger than ever. Ahahaha. You're dead. And I'm still alive. With my current strength, I'm no longer weaker than you. You can't stop me from leaving here. I have already copied your instant transmission. I'll destroy Earth, and you have no way to stop me. Muhahahaha. Cell stared at Raditz and laughed evilly. Oh no! Cell is actually still alive. And he's even stronger than before. Now, Gohan doesn't even stand a chance. King Kai said nervously. Raditz transformed into a Super Saiyan. I barely feel the stamina drain. Raditz mumbled. You still want to keep up with your foolish actions? Cell sneered and prepared to teleport to Earth. What about half power? As expected, it's still draining, but much less. Raditz's ki doubled, electricity sparked. After Cell's Zenkai, his ki was no longer inferior to Raditz's current ki. Then, if I take it a step further? Raditz's ki quadrupled. Raditz's golden aura was clad in numerous lightning arcs. The golden clouds in the surroundings were shaking and drawn to the sky above Raditz as if a vacuum was sucking in all the clouds. Impossible. Cell was taken aback. Raditz's ki was now 4 times as big as his own. Kamehameha. Raditz had no time to spare, he fired a Kamehameha that swallowed Cell whole. Cell cried in injustice, before he completely vaporized. Ha, ha, ha. Raditz reverted back and panted heavily. Raditz. That ki? Even King Kai was shocked by the level of ki Raditz had just displayed. It was so strong that the sky had been shaken and almost congealed. Raditz made sure that there wasn't the slightest cell left of Cell before he departed with King Kai and the rest. Because of the shock from Raditz's full-power Super Saiyan, King Kai was still in shock and had completely forgotten to complain about his sacrifice as well as his planet's sacrifice for just saving Earth. Since they had no abode, King Kai suggested building a house on a cliff near the Snake Way. Raditz instead suggested them to take up residence at the Snake Princess Castle. When they arrived, the servants and the Snake Princess were shaking in fear upon seeing King Kai. King Kai's status was just so noble that they feared offending him. It looked like the Snake Princess had become a servant in Raditz's eyes. She was so observant, caring and subservient in front of King Kai. All the Earthlings were mourning Raditz's heroic death that saved Earth from Cell's self-destruction. This was thanks to the news reporter's efforts. King Furry was especially saddened since he had just met Raditz a few days before the tournament. Raditz's warning had saved millions of Earth's military men. The Z-Team had just gone back to the lookout and had summoned Shinron. Their first wish was naturally to wish back to life all the people Cell and Vegeta had killed. But luckily King Kai had helped him transmit his voice to the Z-Team. Raditz told them to not be in a hurry to revive him. There were a lot of things for him to explore in the other world. If he were to be wished back to life just like that, he would have wasted all his effort in order to go to the other world. Seeing Raditz's attitude, Goku was no longer sad and was back to his nonchalant attitude. But Gohan and Piccolo were stumped by Raditz's decision to stay in the other world. The Z-Team had no idea what to wish for with their second wish. Raditz asked them to remove the bombs inside the androids, namely number 16, number 17, and number 18. Of course, Raditz made sure King Kai was transmitting his voice to everyone on the lookout. Number 18 had awoken and was feeling out of place. She hid behind a pillar and watched the Z-Team make their wishes, and eavesdropped on their conversation. She had a complicated expression on her face as she pressed her palm on her chest, where the bomb used to be. After she woke up, Piccolo had explained that she had been saved by Raditz, and Raditz had also sacrificed himself to save Earth. "I guess I can't visit you anymore," number 18 muttered. Raditz's face surfaced in her mind. That cheeky smile that was asking for a beating when he teased number 18 and then asked her to pay him a visit when she was free. Another thing was that Gohan just bluntly said out loud Uncle Raditz saved her because he loves number 18. And she could not get that sentence out of her head anymore. Raditz had just boarded a patched-up half-broken looking airplane with King Kai. Seriously, this place looks so modern, like the human world. Raditz saw the numerous airplanes on the landing pads that had endless lines of spirits boarding them. These were the planes flying to heaven. King Yama would just make a hole in his office to send those judged to hell, but for those going to heaven required them to take airplane trips. Raditz's plane flew over heaven and continued flying until it reached Grand Kai's planet. "I had thought heaven was a flat plane, but turns out it's a spherical planet," Raditz muttered. Heaven planet was incredibly big, maybe so to accommodate the endless streams of spirits and those who would arrive on heaven in the future after they die. King Kai brought Raditz around Grand Kai's planet. All the fighters there had a halo above their heads. And maybe because King Kai was purposely walking in the territory occupied by the North Galaxy, which was governed by King Kai, every fighter they met greeted King Kai respectfully. There were short dwarf-sized fighters with chicken legs, various alien races of various colors. Some had faces looking similar to bugs, fish, chickens, and also some that looked just like humans. "Some of them are over 2,300 years your senior," King Kai said proudly. "They look so weak," Raditz muttered. Considering just how old they were, the ki they emitted was just too weak. After walking up to Grand Kai's palace, King Kai and Raditz stumbled upon the West Kai. He was even shorter than King Kai. West Kai brought Piccin with him. He hoped Grand Kai would take notice of Piccin and take him as his disciple. King Kai and West Kai, the two quarreled. West Kai was especially happy and made fun of King Kai's halo. He couldn't believe a King Kai could possibly die. And his reason for dying was even worse. He died for an insignificant blue planet. Raditz rolled his eyes and stopped listening to their quarrels. Boom! Grand Kai landed in front of them and kicked up a dust cloud. Raditz had quickly put out a ki barrier to keep out the dust. The rest of them had dusty faces as they looked at Grand Kai in shock. After a while, they heard some rock music. Grand Kai wore shades and jeans clothes, had a boombox resting on his shoulder and danced to the music. "Lord Grand Kai." King Kai, West Kai and Piccin hurriedly said respectfully and went down on one knee. "Nice hairstyle." Grand Kai snapped his finger and complimented Raditz's long hair. Grand Kai's hair was just a bit shorter than Raditz's. Grand Kai came to ask them to take care of the trouble in Hell. Cell had just arrived and had teamed up with Frieza and the rest to cause havoc in Hell. Piccin hurriedly took up the mission and dashed to Hell. "I guess he's strong enough to take care of everything." Raditz remembered that Piccin was really strong in the anime. A few hours later, Piccin came back full of wounds. His clothes were in rags. "I apologize for having failed your expectations, Lord Grand Kai." Piccin had failed to put down Cell. Frieza and the rest were easy for him to take care of, but Cell was just too strong for him. Cell might be a bit stronger in this timeline. Raditz had a weird look until he remembered that this timeline was a bit different. King Kai had Raditz go take care of Cell. King Kai had seen Raditz kill Cell with his own eyes and had proudly pushed Raditz to take care of Cell in front of West Kai. It was also in a way for him to show off that Raditz was stronger than Pikin. Raditz shrugged his shoulders and locked on King Yama's key and teleported away. After arriving in King Yama's office, King Yama opened a passage to hell for Raditz. Raditz. Frisia stared in hatred. Raditz. King Cold still felt great injustice over his death. He had believed Raditz was still Frisia's subordinate and had completely let down his guard when Raditz killed him. He had been clueless until Frisia had explained Raditz had already defected. Raditz? Unlike the others, Cell was shocked by Raditz's appearance. He still could not get over Raditz's ki being 4 times bigger than his. It was an overwhelming and unbridgeable gap. The moment Cell saw Raditz, he had already given up on rebelling in hell. There was no meaning since he didn't have the slightest hope of winning against Raditz. A few minutes later, Raditz had put the Jinyu Force, Frisia, King Cold, and Cell into a prison cell in hell. After Raditz returned and reported his mission, King Kai danced around West Kai to annoy him. He kept shouting that Raditz was strongest. Ho ho ho, young man, you've got great potential. Grand Kai praised Raditz. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kaioshin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my P at Trian. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Ben Phillips.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.